No intro, here we go. Let's talk arm training. Typically, we're going to talk biceps training because that's what everybody cares about when they train arms. We'll get to triceps after that, I promise. The most common thing I hear about from people in the gym or online is they can't get a biceps peak. You have no control over that. I'll explain why really quickly. If you bring your arm up in the pronated position, which is palm facing away from you, and turn it into the supinated position, which is palm toward you, the tendon will move over and you'll get as much of a bicep peak as you're going to get. That's really outside of your control. You can flex as hard as you want here. When you turn that tendon in, your bicep contracts more. It's actually easier to see if you bring your arm out a little bit because it has to do with the amount of space in the joint where the tendon and the muscle separate. So in theory, the shorter a tendon you have, the tissue will move out further, and then when you bring the bicep in, that tissue will bunch up more, you'll have a higher peak. You can't really train it. The best advice that I've ever seen given, or the most applicable advice, is if you train the brachialis muscle under the bicep, which is usually done through things like hammer curls, where the palm is in a semi-pronated position, so your hand will be this way. You develop that muscle a little bit, it'll push the bicep up, again, a little bit. But you're not going to make huge gains in that muscle. It's not going to make a huge higher biceps peak. It's mostly genetic. You don't have any control over it. I hate to break that to you. The next thing that I hear people posting online all the time, and I'll apologize again, I tend to look over here even though my camera's over there on this phone, and I'm just not going to get a whole lot better at it, I'm sorry. People want to know what are the best bicep exercises to do, and I see videos where they'll say top 12 biceps exercises. How many bicep exercises are you using? Top 12? I'm sure that there's hundreds, and you can probably invent thousands, but it's a little bit ridiculous. The bicep has 3 functions, 3 of them, some more important than others. 1, it supinates the wrist, turns the wrist palm up. And as we've shown, that's the first step in getting a more full contraction of the bicep. Because here to here, the tissue turns in, you can contract harder. You can see that contraction right there, easily provable. So if you want to work the bicep muscle, ideally you would have the palm facing this way. Sometimes you use the easy curl bar, and I know your hands will be a little bit more like that. People say it's easier on their wrists, hence the name. More power to you if that's what you like. If you're lifting and contracting hard enough, you'll still get good enough results. Optimal, maybe not, but if it's an issue of pain, optimal is not really something that is of highest concern for you. It's being able to do the exercise pain-free. If you're going to be in a lot of pain and someone tells you it's better for the biceps, it's not better for yours because you hurt too much to actually focus on contracting the muscle and providing overload to the tissue. So it's irrelevant. Now, the other functions of the bicep, 1, as we said, supination of the wrist, obviously bending the arm. And the third, because the origin is in the shoulder, is it also works to help bring the arm up in line with the head. And one of the ways that you can tell immediately is if you put your arms wherever you want, contract your biceps as hard as you can, flex as hard as you can, palms out, palms in, whatever, great. Now bring your arms up in line with your head, bring your arms straight, and contract your biceps. Try to really contract. You almost immediately feel a cramp. It might be kind of painful unless you've been doing bicep work in that range of motion, which most people don't do. You'll notice that it probably cramps up pretty good. Some of you might notice that during chin-ups. Happened to me for a while. Eventually it went away. Made it hard to do chin-ups because the biceps were cramping. How do you take advantage of this in your training? Clearly you could do overhead cable curls. I don't think it's really necessary because a full contraction of the muscle doesn't mean that you're contracting every fiber. It just means that you're using as many as possible and getting resistance through a fuller range of motion. But this is where I'm going to kind of go off the reservation here. You don't need to really train your biceps that way. You have, like, again, 12 best biceps exercises. I don't read articles like that because you don't need 12. You really don't need 4. You can cycle through them because why not, just to get a little variety in your training? Because again, how many different styles of curls are you really going to do? If you want to work that brachialis muscle, sure, do hammer curls. You can do incline dumbbell curls and simply curl this way, or you can curl where you don't do it super strict and bring your elbows forward a little bit and bring your arms up That'll work a little bit more of the origin where you're getting the tie into the shoulder, but ultimately it's not really going to create a better contraction. Bending your arms is contracting the muscles. Palms up is contracting the muscles. People say if you do reverse curls with your palms down, you're working the forearms more. It might put more stress on the forearms, but it's twisting the ulna tendon of the bicep underneath the bone, so it makes it harder to pull. If you think about it this way, I don't do the best at demonstrating this. The tendon goes into your forearm. So it's easy, it creates an easier angle of pull if your forearm is facing up. If you turn it down, you're twisting it under the bone, and you're not really working the forearm more, you're just making it harder for the angle of pull with the biceps. That's why or what they call them, pull-ups are harder than chin-ups, because you're twisting that tendon under the bone and away. So if it were a rope, if you just imagine, it's attached here and here, and now see how my other finger goes away? That's because now you're pulling around the bone and up. Not to a huge degree, but enough that it's going to make noticeable differences. That's why if you have your palms up, you can curl more than you can by doing reverse curls. It's simply a matter of physics and biomechanics, which is easy to take advantage of. If you want to build your biceps, put your palms up. Easy peasy. And as you overload weight, you make improvements. It's the easiest, one of the easiest muscles to train, except maybe calves, because what are you really doing with calves? Pressing your toes out, standing up higher on your toes. And I'm not saying that they are the easiest ones to develop. I shouldn't say that, but the training's not complicated. Maybe you're overcomplicating it by doing too many. I do 3 bicep exercises and 3 tricep exercises in a specific workout, and then a little bit of shoulder work. That's what I enjoy doing, and I keep the weights fairly light. And the reason I do that isn't because you don't need to overload in weight, but you don't need to do tremendously heavy curls. And I mean, if you started with a 30-pound dumbbell and did 3 sets of 10, and you added a pound a week, which if you look at my options for microloading video, it's a possibility with pace weights and other things of that nature, and you added 1 pound a week, that's 52 pounds in a year, you would go from curling 30 pounds to curling 82-pound dumbbells. Do you really need to be able to curl 82-pound dumbbells in a year? Do you think your body will really allow it? And even if you could do it, do you think your elbows are going to be healthy doing something like that? You're putting a lot of stress on what's still a fairly small joint. And I think you're going to wind up giving yourself a wonderful case of elbow tendonitis. I have elbow tendonitis myself. I was previously able to do hammer curls with 65-pound dumbbells without using a whole lot of body swing, but to what point? I went up a couple pounds a week using the micro-loading, and it was fun to be able to do it, but my arms haven't really gotten past the 17.5-inch part, no matter what. So there's no reason for me to do that versus just train normal. And the reason I recommend that is simple. Biceps and tricep training allows you the opportunity, all these different techniques like blood flow restriction training or partial reps or 21s or any of these other things you might want to try, but you aren't really looking to throw into chest or back training, give them a shot in direct arm training. Some people say you don't need direct arm work. Maybe you don't. Maybe you get enough work through benching and chin-ups and rows and whatnot, but I find that I'm stronger in those exercises when I do direct arm work. Everybody that I've seen that says they can't bench 250, 275, under 300, they have no triceps. I don't know if it's related or not. I just know that people I see at the gym who I see struggling with weights that I would consider light, and even weights that are a little bit more challenging, but they should be, they just don't have arms. And we could say, maybe it's a chicken and egg thing. Maybe they'll have the arms as the bench goes up, they'll develop their triceps, or maybe their bench will go up as they develop the triceps beforehand. I would definitely recommend direct arm training. Just don't go crazy with it. You can either throw it in biceps after back work, triceps after chest work. That's fine if that's what you choose to do. Play around with it, because it's not the most important part of your training. I would say if anywhere, that's where you should experiment. That's where you should try to have some fun, because it's not complicated. And if you want to make it your main focus, then I think you're going to set yourself up for frustration and injuries, because if you're trying to constantly overload and go heavier and heavier and heavier in isolation work, trying to train just one muscle group, you're going to wind up putting a lot of stress on that joint and possibly creating imbalances with the rest of the body. And in the case of the biceps and triceps, definitely hurting yourself. Biceps being covered, again, pick a few biceps exercises you like. If you're looking for specific examples, what I do is fairly simple. I use Joe DeFranco's gun show method, and I don't want to give that away because it's paid for on his insider platform, and I'm not in the business of giving up other people's work for free, but it's 3 sets. Won't tell you how they're performed. It's fairly simple. I can use a pretty light weight. I'll do standing preacher curls, and I think last week I used 52 pounds. I go up about 2 pounds a week using those pace weights, as I discussed in another video. And once that's done, I'll repeat the same process for a tricep exercise. I prefer to do it with push downs. 3 sets of each. Minute rest in between each set. 3 of that, 3 of that. If possible, I'll superset. Depends on how busy the gym is. I don't want to steal up 2 pieces of equipment at one time. Then I like doing reverse incline. So I'm laying face down on the incline bench. Palms up curls. I used to do hammer curls, but now I'm enjoying them palm up. Again, change things up a little bit. A little variety in your life won't hurt. I found for me, supinating while curling is fine and easy. Keeping my palms up the entire time, on the way down and on the way up, causes a little bit of joint pain. So for me, not the very best thing, but doing them palms up on the incline, not as bad. And then again, I try to just curl up. Sometimes I let my elbows move a little bit because of the way the bench is set up. I don't want to just curl it into the bench, so I might come forward a little bit so I'm curling more toward my head, and I have to kind of keep my arms a little bit wider so I don't hit myself in the head with the dumbbells. Your mileage may vary. I'll do 4 sets of that with about 60 seconds rest in between. Try to get 12 to 15 reps, maybe push the 20 on the last set. And on my last workout, I think I used 27-pound dumbbells. Again, 25s with those magnetic plates, because I'm not trying to go super heavy, because I'm not trying to put that much stress on one joint. I'm going more for a little bit of volume because I really just want the hypertrophy effect. The strength is important, but again, if you're doing the rest of your body training, if you're doing chin-ups with 70, 80 pounds strapped on, your biceps are going to be fairly strong because they're still an important part of bending your arms. As much as your lats are going to work, this is still happening. Just because this is moving also, you still have to contract the biceps to bring your chin up. And if you're doing them this way, I don't care if you're doing pull-ups that way. I'd rather do it that way, get more activation of the bicep. You'll actually work the biceps better than if you're turning your palms this way. Therefore, you get more bang for your buck out of everything. I'll then move on to hammer dips. I could use regular dips. I'm enjoying the Hammer Strength machine right now. Same process, 4 sets, 12 to 15 repetitions, maybe trying for 20 on the last set. 60 seconds rest in between. It's just my preference. I care more about the volume right now. Then I will finish off with a superset, where I will do incline dumbbell curls, as I explained, still using the same weight that I used for the reverse incline hammer or reverse incline palms up curls. And then as soon as that set's done, I have the dumbbell in front of me where I'll do seated 2-hand overhead extensions, 12 to 15 reps there. Usually I do maybe 12 reps per set and try to finish with 15 on the last. Sometimes I'd have to look through the journal. I might have been doing sets of 15 and trying to finish with 20 on the last one just to really push it, because we're going to go as close to failure on that last set as I can in good form without any pain. And I will then, so I'll do the incline curls. As soon as that's done, put it down, grab the dumbbell, do the 2-arm dumbbell extensions, put that down, 1 minute rest, jump back in. Might have to wind up going to 90 seconds rest. I didn't look at what I did last week. Actually, it's not true. Last week I did the 2 gun show exercises for biceps and triceps, and I was done. That's all it took. I don't know if I think the standing bicep curls or standing preacher curls, which I haven't done in a while, was the 2nd week doing them. I was fried. And then I was using the rope for the tricep press down and trying to separate the rope at the bottom and really just holding it there for a moment. And that did me in. I didn't need to do any additional work. The pump was huge, and I definitely felt fatigued, and the idea of making myself do the additional volume just because it's what I had written down, I called an audible that day, did my shoulder work, got out of Dodge. I also work a physical labor job and had to work that night, so I didn't want to dig myself a deeper hole. And the week before, again, since I hadn't done the standing preacher curls for a long time, I was sore for several days, and I wasn't interested in having that level of soreness in my biceps between that and work. still have to be able to work, and I didn't want to attribute any of my soreness to the job. I don't know if you're like me and you get sore from the gym, that's okay. And if something else makes you sore, that makes you angry because you don't feel you're getting gains from it. I know that's just nonsense in my head, but that's where I was at with it. So that covers biceps and a general example of my arm workout. If you want to know more about DeFranco's gun show system or variable, Google it. I'm not going to give you that information here because it's not mine to give. I highly recommend it. The weights don't have to be heavy. It's fairly simple. It involves a higher number of repetitions per set. It's very fatiguing, a lot of fun. You might think that's not the best way to train. You don't have to do it. Like I said, throw in some variety to your arm training, because if a variable works for your arms, it'll probably work for other parts of your body also. If you are an incredibly easy responder for arms, one, you're probably not watching this video, and then you're probably an easy responder everywhere. But key points on that is, it doesn't really matter which exercises you do as long as they don't cause you pain, and you're not going to find an exercise that really builds a peak into your biceps. If you want to see a biceps peak better, get leaner, and hopefully the length of your bicep tendon is shorter and the actual muscle goes further down toward the elbow and there's less of a gap, because that's going to curl up more and sort of flex higher when you show your arms off. But either way, it's genetic. There's nothing you can do about it, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying or trying to take your money. Tricep work, they extend the arm, they work a little bit to pull the arm out. You'll notice that when you do lat work, that they definitely can get sore from things such as pullovers, and that's partially because you're kind of statically contracting the triceps because you're keeping the elbows from coming down at you. You know, if you're doing pullovers, you're stopping those hands from coming down, so you're getting some static contraction of the triceps. But generally, they're fairly simple. Pick exercises you like and put the work in. I don't have any big secrets for you other than that. If you wanted to throw some variables into your bicep training, you kind of use some bands. I believe Jeff Cavalier on Athlete Next has talked about it. I think he combined it with dumbbells. Someone recently asked about if you can maybe offset, or Jim Stepani, not a big fan, but he talked about holding the dumbbell at the top so that as he did the curl, more of the weight was on the bottom, and it kind of made it harder to supinate the wrist, as I said, which is one of the functions of bicep. I don't think you're really putting that much more stress on the supination aspect of the biceps, the palms up, because the dumbbell is not going to be long enough for the lever arm to really be offset that much. You could do it if you have unusually long dumbbells, or if you are training at home and you offset the weight so there's more weight on the bottom than on the top, or with my pace weights, as I mentioned before, if you put more of those on the bottom than on the top, or if you were going to use a band, you can kind of wrap the band or just grip the band here, and as you pull the slack out and you curl this way, the band's also pulling down only on this side of your hand. The band, the stress and tension is here, not so much on this side, so it's not even. And then you're going to have resistance against both bending and twisting, because what a band will do is it'll redirect the resistance. So those are options you have for that. Tying it in with triceps, a little bit more complicated because they seem to be involved. They're involved more in shoulder work. They're involved more in chest work. The bench press, it's a triceps exercise, which goes back to my statement on how a lot of guys that I see and hear from that tell me they can't bench 250 or that 250 is their max, or I've seen guys at the gym who've been doing 185 forever and they have no triceps at all. That arm is flat. There's nothing going on there, and I believe that's the reason why. If they put more work into any tricep exercises, they can do press downs, they can do dips, don't do kickbacks, that's a waste. And put the work in, your triceps will get stronger, they'll get bigger. Put the work in on the bench. Either do your tricep work at the end of your pushing workout or separate it however you think is best. I'm more than happy to help if anybody would like any pointers in that area. I don't charge anything. This is what I do for a living. If I ever start doing that, you'll know about it. You won't need to hire me because there's still places you can get all this information for free. Easiest to do just by reading. What to read? I don't have any great suggestions right now. Most of this stuff I learned by reading things years ago. I recommend the Nautilus Bulletins by Arthur Jones. I'm not saying you should train in a high-intensity training fashion. That's HIT, not HIIT. So this is some fairly simple late 70s, early 80s stuff, but Jones made really excellent points on how to get the most out of training the muscles. He would argue you should do one set to failure. I don't think that that's the best way. I definitely didn't see my best results doing that. I did see some results doing that, not the best. I found things that work better for me. I do like training to failure, but not only one set. I think if anything, you're doing 3 sets, take that 3rd set to failure. Or if you prefer, go ahead and take that 1st set to failure and then follow up with your 2 or 3 additional sets for some more volume so that you get enough work in to actually cause mechanical stress and tension in the muscles and maybe some biochemical like fatigue. A little bit more than 1 set. Any other questions? Comment down below. Like, subscribe, share. I don't care. I'm not trying to make money off this. I'm just doing it to kill the time.